You know what's funny? Not funny like a joke. Funny like a slap in the face kind of funny. Society will tell you to be yourself, to think different, to stand out from the crowd. But the moment you actually do it, the moment you stop playing their game, stop pretending, stop nodding along to their comfortable lies, they'll destroy you for it. And I'm not talking about some dramatic movie villain destruction. I'm talking about the slow, calculated, systematic kind. The kind that starts with whispers. The kind that ends with you wondering if maybe, just maybe, you're the problem. Here's the thing though. You're not. And two dead guys from thousands of years ago proved it by paying the ultimate price. Let's cut through and talk about why society specifically targets the highly intelligent loner. Reason 1. They see through the lies and can prove it. The highly intelligent loner doesn't just sense something is off. They can articulate exactly what's wrong. They can break down the logic, spot the contradictions, see through the propaganda. Most people are too busy performing in the social circus to actually think deeply. But the loner, they have time, mental space, no distractions from endless networking and status games. They sit alone and think, actually think, and they see the matrix everyone else is trapped in. That's terrifying to a system built on comfortable lies everyone agrees not to question. Reason 2, they don't need social validation. Here's society's main control mechanism, the desperate human need for belonging and approval. Do this or you'll be rejected. Believe this or you'll be alone. Perform or you'll be cast out. Works on almost everyone, almost. But the highly intelligent loner, they've already chosen to be alone. They're not avoiding rejection. They actually prefer solitude. They're content with their own company. So society's biggest weapon, the threat of isolation, is completely useless. Try to threaten someone with the thing they already chose. See how that works out. They can't be controlled through social pressure because they're not seeking social acceptance in the first place. That strips away all of society's power, and people hate losing power. Reason 3, they prove you don't need the crowd. The crowd operates on one fundamental lie. You need us to survive. You need us to be happy. You can't make it alone. Then someone comes along who's perfectly fine, maybe even thriving in solitude. Someone who doesn't need the Friday night hangouts, the office politics, the constant validation, the group chats, the networking events, the performed friendships. Someone who's reading, thinking, creating, existing, completely independent of the crowd's approval. Their existence is living proof that everything the crowd sells is you can survive alone. You can be content without constant social stimulation. You don't need their approval to have meaning. And when your entire social structure is built on you need us, someone proving you don't is an existential threat. Reason 4, intelligence without obedience is uncontrollable. Society loves intelligent people as long as they play along. The smart person who networks, climbs the ladder, performs at parties, laughs at the boss's jokes, compromises their thinking for career advancement. That's useful intelligence. Controllable intelligence, but highly intelligent people who won't perform, who won't play politics, who won't trade their authenticity for status. Maximum threat because they can't be bought with promotions, can't be manipulated through social rewards, can't be threatened with isolation, can't be controlled through shame. They're intelligent enough to see through every manipulation, and independent enough not to care about the consequences. That combination keeps people in power awake at night. Reason 5, they're a living accusation. Every person who traded authenticity for acceptance looks at the highly intelligent loner and feels something deeply uncomfortable, not admiration, guilt, because deep down they know. They know they're performing. They know they're pretending. They know they've compromised themselves piece by piece for comfort and belonging. And there's this person who didn't. This person who chose truth over belonging. Solitude over selling. Authenticity over approval. The highly intelligent loner didn't say a word. But their existence screams, you had a choice. You chose comfort. I chose differently. And people absolutely hate being reminded of compromises they can't undo. Reason 6, they expose the performance without trying. When everyone's wearing masks and performing characters, one authentic person makes the whole act obvious. The highly intelligent loner isn't trying to expose anyone. They're just existing as themselves. But in a room full of actors, the one person not acting stands out like a spotlight. Suddenly, everyone becomes aware they're performing. The illusion breaks. The masks feel heavier. That awareness is unbearable. It makes the performance harder to maintain. So what does the crowd do? Attack the authentic person. Label them weird, arrogant, doesn't fit in. Something's wrong with them. Not because any of that's true, but because their authenticity threatens the comfortable illusion everyone else is maintaining. This is why society destroys the highly intelligent loner. Not one reason, 6 reasons. 6 different threats to a system that runs on conformity, performance, and lies. Everyone agrees to believe. Copenhagen, Denmark, 1800s. There's this guy, a true loner, a deep thinker, someone who couldn't just shut up and play along. Søren Kierkegaard. This man was the definition of a highly intelligent loner. He broke off his engagement to avoid the trap of conventional life. He spent his days alone writing in coffee shops, thinking thoughts most people were too busy to think. He was isolated both physically and intellectually. And just like every intelligent loner before him, society tried to break him for it. But they didn't use violence. They used something more insidious: mockery. C. Kierkegaard had the audacity to call out the Danish church, which at the time wasn't really about faith at all. It was about status. About showing up on Sunday in polished clothes, nodding at the priest, and then feeling spiritually superior by Wednesday. Everyone was playing the game. Everyone was performing. Everyone was pretending that their weekly ritual somehow made them virtuous. Kierkegaard called this Christendom his word for the hollow cultural Christianity that had nothing to do with actual belief. He wrote about how Denmark claimed to be a Christian nation, but nobody was actually living as Christians. They were just acting the part. He talked about the difference between knowing what Christianity teaches and actually existing as a Christian. Between being part of the religious crowd and being an individual who genuinely believes. He said the crowd, the mass of people performing religion together, was untruth. That real faith required standing alone as an individual, not hiding inside the comfortable collective, pretending. His message was crystal clear. Your religion is a performance you tell yourselves is real. You're not devout, you're actors playing devotion. And the church, the newspapers, the respectable society. They went after him like sharks smelling blood. They published cartoons mocking his appearance. They wrote articles calling him crazy, arrogant, antisocial. They laughed at him in the streets. They turned him into a punchline, a cautionary tale. This man who would later be recognized as the father of existentialism, whose ideas would shape Nietzsche, Sartre, Camus, is treated like a mentally unstable clown. Why? Because he embodied all 6 threats in one human being. He saw through their religious performance. He didn't need their approval. He proved you could exist outside the church's control. He couldn't be bribed or intimidated. His authenticity reminded them of their own pretending. His existence exposed their comfortable lies. Kierkegaard talked about the crowd constantly. In the crowd, you don't have to think. You don't have to choose. You don't even have to be yourself. You just blend in, perform, pretend. And the moment someone steps out of that crowd, the moment someone stands alone and refuses to join the performance, the crowd notices. And the crowd does not forgive. They shattered Kierkegaard's reputation, made him an outcast, ensured he died alone, mocked, lonely, misunderstood. He paid the price for being a highly intelligent loner who refused to pretend. But here's the twist. His story doesn't end there. Because after he died, after the crowd moved on to their next victim, his ideas remained, spread, evolved, shaped philosophy forever. The crowd forgot why they hated him, but history remembered why he mattered. But wait, because it gets even darker. You might be thinking, so if you're a highly intelligent loner who refuses to conform, society destroys you. Got it. But here's where it becomes truly disturbing. Even if you're not a loner, even if you're social loved, surrounded by friends, you're still not safe. Because intelligence plus integrity is all it takes for society to turn on you. Athens, 399 BC. A man walks barefoot through the marketplace. Broke, wrinkled, asking questions that make people deeply uncomfortable. His name? Socrates. And here's what most people don't realize. Socrates wasn't a loner. Not even close. He was constantly surrounded by people, students, followers, curious thinkers. He was social. He loved conversation more than anything. He spent his days in busy public places. He had friends, a family, children. He was respected for his military service. He was a citizen in good standing. By every definition. He was integrated into society, but he was dangerous for the same reason Kierkegaard was. He was highly intelligent, and he refused to play the game. And Athens, the so-called cradle of wisdom and democracy, executed him for it. They didn't drag him off violently. They gave him options. He could have stopped teaching. He could have gone silent. He could have left Athens peacefully. He could have compromised. But Socrates believed so deeply in the pursuit of truth that he accepted the death sentence rather than betray his principles. He drank the hemlock. Because living without the freedom to think wasn't living at all. Let that sink in. City that bragged about free thought and philosophy killed a man. Because he asked too many questions, simple questions. Honest questions. What is justice? What is virtue? How do you know the things you claim to know? Not rebellious questions. Not dangerous questions. Philosophical ones. But they exposed people. His method, what we now call the Socratic method, was simple. He'd ask innocent questions, then follow up, and follow up again, until the person realized their beliefs were built on nothing. He wasn't trying to embarrass anyone. He genuinely wanted truth. But here's what happens when you pursue truth. In a world built on comfortable lies, your existence becomes a threat. And even if society likes you, even if you're popular, even if you're surrounded by students and friends, if you're intelligent and unmanageable, they will still come for you. The Athenian government charged him with corrupting the youth and impiety, which, in modern language, means this man makes us look stupid. And we don't like it. The youth weren't corrupted. They were awakening. And nothing scares a system more than minds waking up. They were thinking. They were questioning. They were refusing to accept comfortable lies. That's what Athens called corruption. Teaching people to think for themselves. That's what this actually means. So here's what Kierkegaard and Socrates, two completely different people living 2,000 years apart, actually prove. Kierkegaard shows, if you're a highly intelligent loner, society will reject you. Physical isolation plus intellectual independence plus refusal to perform equals maximum threat. They'll mock you, label you, make you doubt yourself, ensure you die alone and misunderstood. Socrates shows that even if you're not a loner, they'll still come after you. You can have friends, followers, be social, loved, and integrated into the community. But if you're highly intelligent and refuse to compromise your truth, they'll still reject you anyway. The common thread, it's not just about being alone or being social. It's about being highly intelligent and refusing to conform. That's the unforgivable sin. That's what society cannot tolerate. intelligence that won't obey, clarity that won't look away, truth that won't stay silent. Whether you're alone like Kierkegaard or surrounded like Socrates doesn't matter. If you're smart enough to see through the lies and brave enough to refuse the performance, you're a threat. And society will reject threats, marginalize them, try to break them. Always has, always will. Let me tell you what happens when someone refuses to follow the script. They start noticing things that people busy performing don't have time to notice. They notice how much of communication is just noise, performance, status games disguised as conversation. They notice how people don't actually listen. They wait for their turn to talk. They notice how entire industries are built on selling solutions to problems they created. They notice how exhausted everyone looks behind their smiles. They notice the contradictions nobody else seems to see. The lies everyone agrees to believe, the compromises people make and then justify. And they notice something else. They can't unsee it. Once you see the matrix, once you understand the game being played, you can't go back to playing it convincingly. This is what Socrates meant when he talked about the cave. Plato wrote it, but it was Socrates' idea. Imagine people chained in a cave since birth, watching shadows on the wall. That's all they've ever known. The shadows are reality to them. Then one person breaks free, sees the fire casting the shadows, walks outside into sunlight, sees actual reality, the real world, not shadow puppets. What happens when that person goes back into the cave to tell the others? Do they celebrate? Thank them? Finally understand? No, they call that person crazy, dangerous. His eyes are damaged from the sun. He's clearly disabled now. Worse off than before. They might even kill him to protect their comfortable illusions. Why? Because accepting that person's truth means admitting their entire reality is a lie. Means leaving the cave themselves. Means facing the terror of the unknown. So they attack the messenger instead. Sound familiar? That's not just a metaphor. That's exactly what happened to Socrates. What happened to Kierkegaard? What happens to every highly intelligent person who sees clearly and refuses to pretend they don't? Here's what nobody tells you about being a highly intelligent loner. The loneliness is real. Like really real. Not the kind you can fix with a phone call or a night out. The kind that sits in your chest at 3 a.m. The kind that makes you wonder if maybe everyone else figured out something you didn't. Because here's the thing. Being right doesn't make you less lonely. Sometimes it makes you more lonely. Kierkegaard felt this. He wrote about it constantly. The weight of being a single individual standing alone against the crowd. The actual experience of being isolated both physically and intellectually. He knew what it cost. The relationships he'd never have. The acceptance he'd never feel. The belonging that would always be out of reach. And he chose it anyway because the alternative, pretending, was worse. Socrates felt it too, but in a different way. Even surrounded by students, even famous throughout Athens, even constantly engaged in conversation, he was fundamentally alone in his pursuit of truth. Nobody else was willing to go as far. Nobody else was willing to risk everything for it. He faced execution rather than compromise. That's a level of isolation most people can't even imagine. He could be in a room full of people and still be completely alone in what mattered most. And the modern highly intelligent loner. The one scrolling through social media, seeing everyone's performed happiness. The one sitting in meetings knowing everyone's playing a character. The one who can't explain to family why they need so much time alone. They feel it most of all because the world has gotten better at punishing nonconformity. More sophisticated. We don't execute people for asking questions anymore. We don't need public mockery campaigns. We use economic pressure, social exile, the label mental illness for anyone who doesn't fit. The constant message that something is wrong with you, not the system. And the worst part, the absolutely brutal part, You start to believe it after enough people tell you you're the problem. After enough jobs pass you over for not being a culture fit. After enough relationships end because you think too much. After enough family gatherings where you're the weird one who can't just relax and have fun. And sometimes your brain starts to accept it. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am broken. Maybe I should just try harder to be normal. This is how society wins. Not by proving you wrong, but by making you doubt yourself so much that you stop trusting your own perception. Gaslighting on a cultural scale. Let me break down exactly how society marginalizes the highly intelligent loner. This is the playbook refined over thousands of years. Step 1. Forced isolation. First, they separate you from others like you. They make sure you think you're the only one who feels this way. Nobody else seems to have this problem. Everyone else is fine with how things are. You're the only one who can't just go along. This keeps you weak, alone, easy to manage, without solidarity or support. Step 2. Pathologization. Then they medicalize your difference. Social anxiety disorder, depression, autism spectrum, personality disorder. Now listen, mental health is real and important. Treatment helps millions of people. I'm not dismissing that. But there's a difference between having the condition and being labeled with one, because you don't fit the mold society wants. Sometimes the problem isn't your brain chemistry. Sometimes the problem is that you're a deep thinker trying to survive in a shallow world that punishes depth. Sometimes doesn't play well with others just means refuses to perform the social game. Sometimes overthinking just means actually thinking. But by pathologizing it, by making it a medical problem instead of a system problem, they make you the thing that needs fixing, not society. Step 3. Economic punishment. Next comes the career impact. Promotions go to the networkers. The ones who play golf with the boss. The ones who laugh at the right jokes. The ones who perform enthusiasm at team-building exercises. The highly intelligent loner gets feedback like, not a culture fit, lacks team spirit, doesn't engage. Competence isn't enough. Intelligence isn't enough. Results aren't enough. You have to perform. And if you won't or can't, you get passed over again and again while watching less capable people climb higher because they know how to play the game. The message is clear. Conform or stay poor. Step 4. Narrative control. Then they control the story about you. You're not someone who thinks differently, you're difficult. You're not deep, you're overthinking. You're not authentic, you're unsocial. You're not independent, you're unable to work with others. They reframe every strength as a weakness. Your clarity becomes arrogance. Your need for solitude becomes dysfunction. Your refusal to perform becomes a character flaw. And they tell this story to everyone, your coworkers, your family, even to you, until the narrative becomes the truth everyone believes. Step 5. Self-destruction. Finally, and this is the most damaging part, they make you do their work for them. After enough isolation, pathologization, economic punishment, and narrative control, you start policing yourself. Maybe I should talk more in meetings. Maybe I should force myself to go to that party. Maybe I should be more like them. Maybe there really is something wrong with me. You become your own prison guard, your own limiter. Society doesn't even have to push back anymore. You're holding yourself back, and that's how they win. Here's the question burning in your mind right now. Or at least it should be. What if they're wrong? What if, and stay with me here, what if the problem isn't you? What if a society that values performance over authenticity is the actual problem? What if a world that punishes depth and rewards superficiality is fundamentally broken? What if the highly intelligent loner isn't a bug in the system, but someone who's outgrown a system that's too small, too shallow, too controlled? Socrates didn't drink the hemlock because he was wrong. He accepted execution because Athens couldn't handle being wrong. Kierkegaard didn't die mocked and alone because his ideas were bad. He died that way because his ideas were so good. So true, they threatened every comfortable lie everyone else was living. And you're not struggling because something is wrong with you. You're struggling because you see clearly in a world that prefers and requires comfortable blindness. But let's be brutally honest about something. This awareness, this clarity, this refusal to play along, it costs everything. It costs relationships. It costs opportunities. It costs easy conversations and comfortable friendships. It costs you the luxury of ignorance, the comfort of fitting in, the security of belonging. Because once you see how the game is played, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the performance, you can't perform it convincingly anymore. Once you recognize the lies, you can't pretend to believe them. Socrates knew this cost. He accepted it anyway. Kierkegaard knew this cost. He accepted it anyway. And every highly intelligent loner throughout history who refused to compromise their truth, they knew it too. The question isn't whether there's a cost. The question is, what's the cost of the alternative? What does it cost to pretend, to perform, to slowly suffocate under the weight of a mask you wear so long you forget your own face? What does it cost to silence the questions burning in your mind because they make other people uncomfortable? What does it cost to shrink yourself into something palatable when you were meant to be something true? What does it cost to trade your one life, your one shot at existence, for the approval of people performing characters? Socrates decided that cost was higher than accepting execution. Think about that. Really think about it. A man decided that living inauthentically was worse than facing death. Here's something you need to understand. The loneliness of the highly intelligent loner is different from normal loneliness. It's not about lacking people. It's about lacking connection. You can be in a room full of people and feel utterly alone. You can have 100 social media followers and not a single person who actually knows you, because real connection requires authenticity. And authenticity requires someone willing to see you, actually see you. Not the performed version, not the palatable version, not the version that makes them comfortable. In the crowd, nobody is really present. Everyone is hiding. Everyone is alone together, isolated by their masks. Even while surrounded by others, the highly intelligent loner feels this more acutely because they've stopped performing. They stand there, mask off, wondering why nobody else is taking theirs off too. And the answer is fear. People keep their masks on because taking them off is terrifying. Being truly seen is vulnerable. Authenticity requires courage most people don't have or won't risk. So they stay in the crowd, safe, comfortable, alone. And they resent the person who has the courage. They lack when the world calls them crazy. Here's a pattern you'll notice throughout history. The people who change the world are called crazy first. Socrates crazy. Kierkegaard crazy. Every scientist who challenged the established order crazy. Every artist who saw the world differently crazy. Every thinker who refused to accept comfortable lies crazy. Crazy is what the crowd calls anyone who threatens their illusions. It's not a diagnosis. It's a weapon. So what happens when you realize all this? When you see the game clearly, when you understand that you're not broken, that the system is, you face a choice. The same choice Socrates faced. The same choice Kierkegaard faced. The same choice every highly intelligent loner faces every single day. Path 1. Compromise. You can put the mask back on. Learn to perform. Laugh at jokes that aren't funny. Agree with opinions you don't hold. Attend parties you don't enjoy. Play politics you see through. Slowly sand down all your edges until you fit into the shape they want. This path is easier. It really is. You'll have more friends, or at least more friendly acquaintances. Better career opportunities. Less rejection. You'll feel less alone in rooms full of people. Your life will be smoother, more comfortable, more secure. But here's what you'll lose: yourself. Bit by bit, day by day, compromise by compromise. Until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize who's looking back. Until the mask becomes your face and you can't remember what you looked like without it. Until you're so far from who you were that you can't find your way back. And you'll spend the rest of your life with this quiet ache, a sense that something is missing. That you betrayed something important, that you traded something irreplaceable for something worthless. Path 2, truth. Or you can choose what Socrates chose, what Kierkegaard chose: mockery and isolation over pretending. Why? Because performing faith you didn't feel would have been a betrayal of everything you believed. Your truth is worth defending. Even when it's hard. Even when you're alone. Even when everyone tells you you're wrong. Surrendering your truth means surrendering yourself. And yourself is all you really have. Being a highly intelligent loner in this world is one of the hardest things you can be. Not because you're weak, but because you're fighting against thousands of years of social evolution that says conform or die. You're fighting against brain chemistry that craves belonging. You're fighting against economic systems designed to reward performance. You're fighting against cultural narratives that label difference as dysfunction. You're fighting against your own doubt that whispers, maybe they're right and I'm wrong. This is why Socrates matters. Why Kierkegaard matters. Not because they succeeded, they didn't. Both faced severe consequences from their societies. But because they fought the same fight you're fighting. They felt the same weight you're carrying. They faced the same doubt you're facing. And they chose truth anyway. Not because it was easy, but because the alternative, betraying themselves, was unthinkable. They prove it's possible, painful, costly, brutal, but possible. To stay true when everything pushes you to compromise. To think clearly when everyone demands comfortable blindness. To stand alone when your entire biology screams for belonging. That's courage. Not the Hollywood kind. The real kind. The kind that costs everything and gets you nothing except the ability to look at yourself in the mirror. Here's the truth. Socrates understood when he drank the hemlock. The truth Kierkegaard grasped when he chose authenticity over acceptance. You're going to die anyway. That's not morbid. That's reality. We all face our mortality eventually. Everyone who judges you, rejects you, mocks you, tries to make you conform, they all face the same end. The crowd that demands your conformity, they'll be gone too. The system that punishes your authenticity, it'll outlive you, but it won't remember you. The comfortable lies everyone tells themselves won't matter in the end. The performance everyone maintains eventually stops for everyone. So if you're going to die anyway, if none of this ultimately matters in the cosmic sense, then what's the point of living as anything other than yourself? Why spend your brief existence performing for people who don't really see you? Why waste your limited time hiding the only thing that makes you unique? Why die as a character in someone else's story instead of the author of your own? Facing mortality teaches you this. Authenticity is all we have. Strip away the performance, the status, the approval, the comfort, the belonging, and all you're left with is the truth of who you are. That's it. That's all any of us really have. So don't give up. Don't compromise. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. Stay true. Keep thinking. Keep questioning. Keep being authentically, unapologetically you. The world needs people like you more than it knows. And somewhere, maybe reading this right now, someone needs to see that it's possible to survive without selling yourself out. Be that proof. Like Socrates. Like Kierkegaard. Like every highly intelligent loner throughout history who chose truth over comfort. Choose yourself.